A top-secret Newey document just leaked and it doesn't include Lance Stroll in Aston Martin's 2026 plans. How do you go from team insider to expendable asset, while your own father is still running the show? You're about to hear what this leaked data really says and why Honda's pressure, Newey's vision, and Alonso's influence may have already written Lance out of Aston Martin's future. And here's the twist: if the team acts on this plan, Lance could lose his seat before the next season even starts, without a single press release. The leak didn't come from a journalist or a disgruntled ex-employee. It came from inside the project, a set of technical planning notes connected directly to Adrian Newey's vision for Aston Martin's 2026 Challenger. And while most of the document focused on aero targets, chassis dynamics, and integration with Honda's power unit, the most chilling part had nothing to do with hardware. It was about drivers. The simulations listed preferred performance traits, adaptability requirements, and input response ratings. But in those tables, there was no mention of Lance Stroll, not as a benchmark, not as a data source, not even as a placeholder. It wasn't an omission. It was a signal. For a team that has long operated under the protective umbrella of Lawrence Stroll's leadership, this leak shattered the illusion that Lance's seat was permanently secured. It suggests that the people now shaping Aston Martin's future, the real decision-makers, are building a competitive architecture that doesn't include him. And this isn't just any architecture. This is Adrian Newey's blueprint for a title-contending machine under the radically different 2026 regulations. It's being engineered for drivers who can adapt instantly to unpredictable handling windows, manipulate energy deployment on the fly, and communicate in high fidelity under extreme conditions. And based on the internal feedback circulating within the technical group, Lance isn't that driver. The timing couldn't be worse for Stroll. Honda is returning to F1 with Aston Martin as a full works partner, and with that comes the pressure of Japanese engineering standards, meticulous, process-driven, and deeply focused on driver feedback integrity. Honda's internal testing protocols reportedly favor drivers who provide near-identical simulation and real-world performance deltas. Translation? Consistency and adaptability are valued above all. Sources close to the project say that while Honda respects Lawrence Stroll's leadership, they are quietly lobbying for a driver lineup that can optimize their power unit philosophy. Lance, with his historically inconsistent telemetry and variable performance across car generations, may already be viewed as a mismatch. Even more telling is the way Fernando Alonso is positioning himself. The two-time world champion isn't just focused on driving, he's embedding himself into the technical DNA of the project. Alonso has been spotted attending power unit briefings, participating in simulator correlation tests, and even reviewing chassis load data alongside Newey's aerodynamics team. He's not acting like a driver on a 2-year deal. He's acting like the cornerstone of the entire operation. And that creates a brutal contrast. While Alonso is rising as the technical compass for Aston Martin's future, Lance is quietly fading into the background, an increasingly awkward presence in a team evolving beyond his role. Within the engineering department, the tone has also changed. Feedback from Lance is now being reviewed with a second layer of filtering cross-checked against Alonso's input and Newey's simulation assumptions. That alone tells you what's happening. The team no longer treats his voice as equal. It's not malicious. It's procedural. In elite F1 development culture, when a driver's feedback is consistently out of phase with the car's actual behavior, the engineers stop building around him. They stop trusting the input. And when that happens, a driver's usefulness as a development asset evaporates long before the media ever notices. The commercial side is equally ruthless. Sponsors and brand partners aligned with Aston Martin are increasingly interested in the team's long-term image. With the 2026 car expected to usher in a new era of competitiveness, the team's public narrative is shifting from a family-run project to a serious title contender. That rebranding effort becomes harder to sell if the perception remains that Lance is being carried for non-performance reasons. In that context, even if he improves, it might not be enough. Because the story the team wants to tell, a story of innovation, domination, and evolution, doesn't align with a driver whose position is constantly questioned by the paddock. And so the trap tightens. Every lap Lance drives now is watched under a microscope. Every qualifying session is a referendum on his value. Every team radio message is scrutinized not just for strategy, but for clarity and contribution. His presence, once secured by name and ownership, is now dependent on numbers, deltas, and raw execution. And the worst part? If this Newey Honda vision succeeds, it may become the blueprint for Aston Martin's identity going forward. An identity in which there's no space for legacy drivers, only elite performers. If Lance can't become that now, there may be no future left to fight for. Behind the polished facade of Aston Martin's media presence, an unmistakable realignment is happening, one that has quietly shifted the balance of power away from Lance Stroll and toward a new technical elite. It began subtly, with Adrian Newey's unofficial influence on the 2026 concept. Then came the growing integration of Honda's engineers into development briefings. Now, with Fernando Alonso emerging as the informal captain of the next-generation car, the dynamic has fully tilted. What was once a project built to support Lance's rise is now becoming a high-performance machine built to win at any cost. That transition doesn't just change the car. It changes the culture. And in that culture, every weak link is exposed. The psychological weight on Lance is almost impossible to overstate. For years, he has raced under a cloud of public skepticism, often defended only by the shield of his family's ownership. But that shield is now cracking under the pressure of expectations that are no longer negotiable. And the silence from Lance Stroll is perhaps the most revealing detail of all. There's been no denial of the leaked reports. No counter-narrative pushed through team channels. No public reaffirmation of Lance's long-term role. In Formula One, silence is rarely neutral. It's strategic. And in this case, it may signal that Lance is preparing to let the project evolve beyond his original intentions. What does that evolution look like? Internally, Aston Martin is said to be considering driver pairings that would bring a new dimension of technical feedback and stability, especially as they prepare for a volatile regulation shift. These aren't necessarily superstar names, but drivers known for working deeply with engineers, thriving in understeer-biased chassis, and extracting performance from unbalanced cars, precisely the kind of profile Newey's aerocentric philosophy demands. The shortlist isn't public yet, but the criteria are clear. The seat Lance currently occupies is being treated as open in internal discussions. That alone is more significant than any press release. And while Lance may not be hearing those conversations directly, the paddock certainly is. Rival teams, analysts, and even former drivers have begun to speak more openly about the disconnect between Aston Martin's ambitions and Lance's capabilities. For years, this was a taboo subject. Now, it's becoming mainstream discourse. That shift in perception when the entire ecosystem starts viewing a driver as expendable can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Sponsors begin to hedge. Engineers become emotionally detached. Teammates stop defending you in interviews. And slowly, the team stops racing with you and begins racing around you. The human cost of this transformation is real. Lance Stroll is not a villain, he's a professional driver who has achieved more than many critics ever expected. He's scored podiums. He's delivered under pressure. And he's survived in one of the most unforgiving environments in sport. But now, survival isn't enough. The team's new frontier demands transformation into a data-driven, feedback-dominant, hyper-consistent athlete who can shape the car's development at the microscopic level. That's not the driver Lance has been. And the question haunting the paddock now is whether that transformation is even possible this late in his career. Meanwhile, Alonso's role continues to grow in silence. He's not politicking overtly, but every move he makes reinforces his centrality. When he tests new parts, they stay on the car. When he requests balance adjustments, the team adjusts its sim program. When he gives feedback, Newey listens. That kind of influence doesn't come from charisma. It comes from trust built lap after lap, data point after data point. Lance has not earned that same trust. And the deeper the team's development dives into 2025 and beyond, the clearer that gap becomes. It's not just a performance gap anymore. It's a philosophical one. So where does this leave Lance? In the most fragile position of his entire career. No scandal, no crash, no public fallout, just the slow, quiet erosion of belief from the people who once shaped a team around him. And perhaps the cruelest part is that he's still racing. Still showing up. Still doing the job. But the ground beneath him is shifting. And unless something dramatic changes on the stopwatch, in the feedback loop, or behind closed doors, he may soon find himself on the outside of a team he once called home. Watching as Aston Martin finally becomes a championship force, without him in the car.